just got out of the theaters from seeing Supergirl on the big screen, and man oh man was this a rough one to sit through, guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let's get into the movie review. Let's go. Supergirl is a sci-fi action movie and is the newest installment into the DCU, directed by Craig Gillespie. And inside of this film, we see when an unexpected and ruthless adversary strikes too close to home, Kara-Zor-El, aka Supergirl, reluctantly joins forces with an unlikely companion on an epic interstellar journey of vengeance and justice. Now, leading up to the release of this movie, I was extremely hyped to see this on the big screen in theaters because I'm a huge DC fan. Okay, my favorite character of all time is Batman. I believe in the DC universe. I believe in the strength of these characters that are the staple names inside of the DC universe. And so because of that, I was looking forward to this. I've enjoyed James Gunn's work throughout the years in the past, especially on films like Guardians of the Galaxy. I thoroughly enjoyed his film Superman being, the very first movie in this brand new DCU. So I thought we were off to a good start. I thought we were off to a good track here until Supergirl. Okay, and this film has a ton of problems. I know there's a lot of controversy right now, a lot of bad press that this movie is getting, and I can tell you right now, it's for good reason. Because I checked this film out and we have to discuss it. We have to talk about it. But before we go ahead and get into everything that's wrong with this film, I like to start off with my positives. So let's go ahead and get into my positives for the Supergirl movie. And for my first positive with this film, we have to talk about David Corenswet as Superman. Okay, I absolutely love this guy's performance as Superman. He makes cameos throughout this film. That's not a spoiler. We got to see him inside the trailer making a cameo. And so he's in just little scenes here and there throughout this movie. And in every single scene, this guy is killing it. Okay, I have never been a huge fan of Superman up until I seen his performance in that Superman 2025 film, and after that it made me a believer. So I thoroughly enjoyed his presence in this film. I'm glad he made a cameo. Honestly, I think this movie would have been even better if they included him in it a little bit more, but I get it. They're not trying to overshadow what's supposed to be our main protagonist for this film, that being Millie Alcock as Supergirl, which we'll discuss her. We'll talk about her later on in this review. But yeah, for my first positive, David Corenswet knocked it out of the park with his cameo scenes. Now let's go ahead and talk about my next positive when it comes to this film, and that's Jason Momoa as Lobo. Okay, because he looks fantastic. He's giving a fantastic performance. Jason Momoa is an excellent actor, and it's no different here. This is a role that he's been dying to play for like over a decade now. And so this is his dream role. He is definitely giving it his all here. He's not phoning in his performance whatsoever. He's a believable Lobo. I appreciated his appearance inside of this movie. I like what he brought to the role. You could tell he was having a blast on set. You could tell he was having fun with it, that he finally got to do something he's been looking forward to doing his entire acting career. And so Lobo made for a solid addition to this movie. Now, do I like him more than Aquaman? That's to be debated. You could definitely have that conversation, that debate, but considering we have a full film of him as the lead protagonist as Aquaman, I think I lean more towards the Aquaman side here, but nonetheless, okay, he did a fantastic job as Lobo, and that has to be said here. Now let's move on to my next positive with this movie. It would have to be the costume design, hands down. The costume design for Millie Alcock's Supergirl outfit, it's fantastic. Fantastic costume design. Unfortunately, you don't get to see much of it. We'll talk about it later in the video. But when she is wearing the costume, looks excellent. Lobo's costume design looks excellent. David Corenswet, of course, we've seen his costume in the last Superman movie. It's fantastic, okay? The costume design inside of this film is top notch, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Now let's go ahead and talk about my final positive when it comes to the Supergirl film, and it would have to be the start of the second act with Kara's backstory and Krypton's final moments, okay? Because they finally explained inside of this film what happened to Clark and Kara's home planet of Krypton. I thought the world building there was fantastic. I loved getting to see Krypton. It definitely made me perk up in my seat and go, okay, made me pay attention a little bit more here, and captured my attention a lot more than the first act of this movie did. Okay, and they do something interesting when it comes to Krypton. I'm not going to get into heavy details too much, but I definitely enjoyed those sequences within the film. I thought that was honestly the best part of the entire movie, was everything that took place on Krypton and getting to see what that world building was like. like, okay? Now with that being said, those are my positives when it comes to the Supergirl movie. Let's go ahead and move into my negatives for the Supergirl film. And this section of the video is really what I've been wanting to talk about this entire time, because there are so many negatives when it comes to this movie. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. My first negative for this film would have to be Millie Alcock as Supergirl. Now, to be honest, okay, going into it, I thought, Millie Alcock's a fantastic actress. I seen her inside House of the Dragon. She did a great job there. Got a great highlight out of that series. So I was excited to see her and her Supergirl performance. I thought they hired a perfect actress for this role. And it's not even her performance that is bad in this movie. It's the script around the character. It's the character itself that's wrong with this film. Because through this entire movie, Kara-Zor-El is going through hell internally. Okay, she's torturing herself because of her past, because of what happened to her home planet. She's drowning herself in alcohol and liquor as much as she can, which can be an interesting story device, okay? You can definitely have a proper character arc off of that, but that is not what you get here inside of this movie, no. Instead, you get hardly a superhero film at all, right? We walked in to see a superhero movie, and Supergirl is just not hitting the marker when it comes to being an actual superhero inside of this film. Not only does she cross the line a lot of times throughout this movie and do out of character things that almost takes away her hero title entirely, to the point where you're like, is this character even a hero by the end of the film, right? If anything, this felt more like an anti-hero type of character, almost like Lobo inside of this film, which was very strange. Did not expect that whatsoever out of the Supergirl character when it came to this movie. But on top of that, this character is downright pathetic. I mean, like I said, she's drowning herself in liquor throughout this entire film, and by the end, she never even has a proper transformation into that hero character. By the end, you just don't believe it. All right, she's getting beat up left and right. She's pretty much suffering at the hands of not only herself but the villains inside of this movie through the entire film. It was downright pathetic after watching this film, looking back on her character. And on top of that, right, I spoke highly of the costume design. The costume design is fantastic when it comes to Kara-Zor-El, when it comes to Supergirl, but you hardly see her in the costume for this entire film. You only get her in the superhero outfit, in that Supergirl outfit, the iconic outfit that they created for her in the third act of the movie. Only towards the very end. For the rest of it, the first, second act of the movie, she's just wearing normal clothes with a trench coat. It looked absolutely terrible. I can't believe they wasted this amazing costume design and didn't include her in the costume more throughout the film. That's a huge miss out of this film, definitely. And we don't even need to talk about the marketing cup that they used for this film, right? Because that was a whole other tangent I can go on. That was so ridiculous and over the top and out of this world. Okay, we should have never seen that. I can't believe that that's a real thing. Crazy as hell that they even went with this design choice, right? But let's stick more on the film and what's wrong with the actual movie. Let's move on to my next negative when it comes to this film, and that's Eve Ridley's character of Ruthie, who plays a major role inside of this film, okay? Because when you start this movie out, you watch Ruthie's family pretty much all die out. In this entire movie, she wants revenge, she wants vengeance, and so she kind of partners up with Kara-Zor-El. She kind of partners up with Supergirl in this unlikely companionship to get revenge in a way and redeem her family name. But in including that into the script and into the main center line of the plot, it ended up convoluting this entire movie story-wise overall and overshadowing Supergirl's own story and what she's personally going through throughout this film. She takes a backseat in her own movie to the Ruthie character. This entire movie is about Ruthie's family, Ruthie's storyline, what Ruthie's going through, what Ruthie wants, which is vengeance, revenge, right? And not really about Kara whatsoever. She took a backseat in her own movie. In her debut film, we got a debut Supergirl film with a huge actress playing the main lead, and she's hardly even the main lead in her own film. Eve Ridley is the lead of this film. I did not expect that whatsoever. It threw me for a loop watching this film, honestly. We got way more character development and a character arc for this child, Ruthie. Way more than we did for Kara-Zor-El in a Supergirl film. Tell me how that is possible, James Gunn. Please tell me right now. And there's more negatives when it comes to this movie, okay? It's not just that. This film's chock full of them. So let's go ahead and move on to my next negative with the Supergirl film. All right, we got to talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack is forgettable nonsense, okay? Especially in that third act, once Alcock, once Kara-Zor-El finally has her superhero moment, you could say, and we get her, her big action scene towards the end of the movie, which every superhero film has, so you can expect it. It's not really a spoiler me saying that. The soundtrack, the song that they went with for this sequence, you're not gonna believe it until you go out and see this movie, and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It was the worst song choice possible. I couldn't believe that they did this. Who the hell put this together? They need to be questioned, possibly fired. I don't want anyone losing their job, but hey, we need to put things into question, okay? But it's not just that, right? I haven't even talked about the villain of this film. The antagonist inside of this movie, which is Krim of the Yellow Hills. That's the name of the antagonist inside of this movie. Absolute, abysmal, terrible, horrible character. Could not believe that this was the choice as our main villain for the Supergirl film. You know what this character reminded me of? Go back and watch Guardians of the Galaxy, or if you've seen them already, you would know the character of Taserface, right? Now, Taserface inside of Guardians of the Galaxy was a joke of a character. He was like a side quest, very low level antagonist for the Guardians of the Galaxy that Rocket is constantly making jokes about throughout that entire movie, clowning on him. They pretty much took Taserface from that movie, made him into Krim of the Yellow Hills for this film, and that's kind of the performance and even like the look of the character and everything that we get inside of this movie. It was horrible. Forgetful villain. After seeing this movie, 1 week later, I'm not even going to remember the name of this villain. I had to search it up again just to remember for this review because it's that forgetful, okay? It's that forgettable, horrible villain, terrible antagonist, which is weird because I feel like, Marvel is typically the ones having a problem when it comes to their villains for their film. Like, they'll have an amazing movie and then the villain will be like, the villain was okay, he's a bit forgettable, whatever. And DC typically has the stronger villains, especially when it comes to that Batman Rogues Gallery, right? But no, this film, the villain inside this movie, the antagonist, terrible. This entire movie felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff. In fact, this felt like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4, but if that ended up being the worst one out of all 4 of the movies, because that's exactly what this movie is, okay? Kara spends this entire film on random alien planets doing random side quests. I mean, the main plot of this film, which I haven't even really talked about, it's because it's completely forgettable and it falls to the wayside throughout this entire movie, is Krypto the dog ends up getting shot with some poison. Kara has like 3 days to save the dog, and meanwhile she gets caught up, like I said, being a side character to Ruthie throughout this entire film. But man, I couldn't stand it. This movie, we needed Kara on Earth a lot more. There is like one scene where you get a glimpse of that, and it's very interesting for that small portion of the movie. We needed more of Kara on Earth and Kara establishing who she is on Earth. I think that would have made this film a lot better. Like I said, we could have had Clark in it a lot more. But man, there's so many more problems with this film. I can keep going. Okay, I can keep going, but let's just wrap the negatives up here and let's move over into my overall review for the Supergirl movie. Look guys, overall this was easily one of the worst films I've seen this year. In fact, this is like second place for me being in the worst films I've seen this year. The worst one is still Scary Movie 6. That was downright horrible, hardly a film. This was actually trying to be a movie, yet failed on damn near every level. Okay, Kara-Zor-El as a character, completely pathetic, hardly a hero origin story. Can't believe she took a backseat in her own debut film to Ruthie, a character we shouldn't even care about for the most part. One of the worst villains of all time out of any DC movie was inside of this film, easily. Okay, the costume design, fantastic when they used it, which they hardly do. You don't see her in her Supergirl outfit throughout the entire film. Lobo was great, but considering he's placed inside an otherwise terrible film, that character is unfortunately going to become forgettable too in the future. Okay, David Cornsweet, when he made his appearance as Clark Kent, okay, as Kal-El, he was fantastic as always. That's like the saving grace for the DCU right now. David Cornsweet Superman is the only thing holding this terrible universe together like glue. The soundtrack choices were terrible. The first, second, and third act are damn near all bad outside of a good moment here or there and that great backstory for her home planet, Krypton. right? And I just can't believe that after a great debut to the DCU with Superman 2025, in 2026, our second movie, only our second film into the DCU, guys, we got this abysmal, terrible dud of a film. I can't believe it. As a DC fan, I just can't believe it. As a James Gunn fan and former believer, keyword former, I can't believe what he's done here. He needed more oversight here. He needed to be the one directing this, because when he directed the film Superman, it worked out fine. Don't know why he tried to bring someone else in to do the job here and try to see his vision through. That did not work whatsoever. The script for this film is terrible. This was one of the worst theatrical experiences I've ever had, especially for this year, and was the most disappointing movie I have seen in theaters so far in 2026. And because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and drop the rating for you guys. I give Supergirl 2026 the rating of a 3 out of 10. It gets the 3 out of 10. Man, horrible theatrical experience. What a letdown. Couldn't be more disappointed as a DC fan. I no longer believe in the DCU and the future of it. I've been very praising of the DCU, praising of James Gunn, hyped about this film, covering the lead up on the channel up until this point, and I'm here to deliver you the sad news, guys. We need to hop off the train, okay? We need to hop off the train. We may never have a proper DC universe set up. They tried with Zack Snyder. That was hit or miss. They're trying here with James Gunn, and we already have a miss. A huge letdown in the very second movie. Can't believe it. Marvel put the formula out there for them. We've seen Marvel lay out the formula. Why are we trying to develop Supergirl this early into the DCU anyway? Why are we not going Superman, then Batman, because James Gunn still wants to do his own Batman? I no longer believe in that. Okay, I'm off that train before it even begins. I like Matt Reeves' Batman. We have a fantastic Batman right now with Robert Pattinson, a fantastic film in the Batman 2022, and probably going to get another banger once the Batman Part 2 drops in 2027. They could have used that for the DCU. I've been saying that for almost years now, that they should have just used Robert Pattinson's Batman for the DCU. But no, they want to do a whole new thing, bring in a whole new actor for Batman for this specific DCU, while simultaneously having Robert Pattinson's Batman on the screen and his movie still going simultaneously. Tell me how that makes any sense whatsoever. It doesn't, okay? And like I said, we should have had Superman, then Batman, then brought in Wonder Woman, okay, then the Flash, Green Lantern, develop these major mainstream characters that make up the Justice League. Once you do all of their origin stories, maybe you do, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, because remember, in this instance, in this scenario, Superman would pretty much be Iron Man for the MCU. We did get Iron Man 2 before that Avengers film, if I remember correctly. And then after you develop all of those characters, right, give them their own debut films, the core members of the Justice League, then we get that team up Justice League movie, and then we move on to phase 2 and continue from there. Like, Marvel gave us the formula. Why are we in the second film already getting a Supergirl film? That character should have been developed much later. I think we could definitely see that now. Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's hard to believe. I can't believe they failed on this level of a scale. And in terms of the box office here, I'm going to do a whole separate video on that, on the future of the DCU, on the box office for this film, etc., right? But I could tell you, they're losing a ton of money at the box office right now, and it's for good reason. This movie did worse than Morbius did. That train wreck of a film. It did worse than that at the box office. I can't believe it, guys. The final message I'm going to leave you with is James Gunn has failed us, and I no longer believe in James Gunn anymore. I'm sorry. And with that being said, guys, those are my thoughts on the Supergirl 2026 film. Let me know your thoughts on this film down in the comment section down below. If you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film, TV, and pop culture based content. So if you're interested in this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.